I will introduce to you the gentleman and lady that we have here in the front. Right next to me is the president and convener of Transform Zimbabwe, a political party of substance and measure. The gentleman next to the lady, Dr. Zembe, is the acting chair of the National Democratic Working Group and also the head of political affairs. The lady to the extreme end is Mai Banda. She is an executive member of Transform Zimbabwe. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you also, members of the media, for covering this. Okay. The way we are going to proceed is this. Dr. Mr. Ngarivhume, President Ngarivhume, will speak first, followed then by Advocate Job Sikhala. After that, we will take questions and then we will close the proceedings. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Courage. It's quite my pleasure to be addressing you this morning and also to be in the company of Courage Shumba. I think the last time we were together is nearly 20 years ago at the University of Zimbabwe, and he was still an excellent cadre. I don't know what happened to him all this time. He was since grown a big belly.
The wrong guy.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm glad also my brother and colleague, Advocate Job Sikhala, is with us online. It is my pleasure to welcome him as well to this presser. I think what we are unveiling before the press this morning is a cooperation agreement between Transform Zimbabwe and the National Democratic Working Group. This cooperation agreement is actually a memorandum of understanding between the two organizations. You know, Transform Zimbabwe being a political party notified with the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, and the National Democratic Working Group being a social justice movement, you know, a political movement of force and reckon in this country. What we did as the two separate organizations is that we agreed to come together to work for the good of the people of Zimbabwe. And that cooperation and working together is actually based on issues. We have identified 3 key areas that we agree as different organizations, and that we think if we come together, we can cooperate and come up with a very powerful force that will free the people of Zimbabwe. And top of the list of the issues that we agreed to work together on is the issue of corruption. We want to fight corruption in this country. Corruption has become so endemic and a dangerous cancer that is destroying the heritage that Zimbabwe is. And we've said we have not done enough as a nation and as a people. How can we come together and make sure that we fight corruption effectively? We want to provide leadership to this issue. We want to provide leadership to the people of Zimbabwe. So we want to join forces and hands in fighting corruption. That's number 1. The number 2 area of cooperation is the area of the economic deterioration that we have in the country, whereby the state of the nation is getting poorer and the people's livelihoods are deteriorating because of number 1, corruption, bad governance, and mismanagement. So we want to make sure that we fight for a better livelihoods for the people of Zimbabwe. And of course, it's also important for us to fight for other political issues that can enable a free and fair election, the leveling of the electoral playing field. Those are key issues that the people of Zimbabwe are concerned about. And how are we going to fight that as Zimbabweans? So this cooperation agreement then seeks to pool our resources together in terms of human resources, in terms of financial resources, and in terms of intelligence resources, to say how do we mobilize the people of Zimbabwe, number 1, to identify the issues, and number 2, to fight. We have since then agreed in terms of the cooperation agreement and its outline and depth. We've agreed that once we identify issues, then we want to find ways of fighting as far as those issues are concerned. And in our fight, let me be very clear, our fight will be guided by the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Section 59 through to Section 61 allows for the people of Zimbabwe to protest, for instance. It allows for the people of Zimbabwe to engage in various activities, to express themselves, as long as it is done peacefully. And of course, once we get the mandate from the people, they identify the issues, and then we say, okay, how are we going to deal with the issue of corruption? How are we going to recover our goats? I mean, I understand recently the issue of goats has been trending, whereby a gentleman got millions of dollars to purchase goats that never were availed, you know. But of course, that is only a small part of the big problem. The problem we have in this country is that the corruption is endemic and institutionalized. People have gotten rich in this country through, they call it, what do they call it? This nourship, the new nourship, whereby people get tender nourship. They get tenders and they are buying things, they are spending and splashing money, buying everybody cars. I hope most of you have managed since to get some cars from these guys. It's crazy. How do you run a nation like that without medical equipment, but you are busy buying cars for everybody? You see? So we identify those issues and then say, how do we fight? And our fighting is guided by the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Our leadership, my brother Job Sikhala's leadership and my leadership, is such that we don't send people to do things that we are not prepared to do ourselves. Let me be very clear and specific on that. If the people of Zimbabwe ask us to take a certain course of action, we are prepared to provide leadership, to lead from the front and be with the people when it matters most. And that is very critical. This is the kind of leadership that we feel we need to provide to the people of Zimbabwe. And our two organizations have since identified the need for us then to work together, to cooperate, share ideas, work together to make sure that we are more effective. The issue really is about making sure that we are effective in our fight for the good of the people of Zimbabwe. So this cooperation agreement that we have signed together with the National Democratic Working Group is to ensure that we come together, pull our forces together for the good of the people of Zimbabwe. We are sick and tired of what is happening, but surely there is always a time that a new generation of people need to arise. We owe it to our children. I mean, I was saying it has been 20 years since I met him at college. I've been reflecting to say, what gains have we made ever since in this fight for democracy? A lot has been done. Huge sacrifices, and we applaud those who have led the democratic struggle up to now. We applaud them. But we also feel we owe it to make sure that we take this mantle up and run with it. There's no question about the deteriorated economic conditions in this country, the corruption and everything. There's no question about that. There's nobody from Pluto who do not know what is happening in this country. So the question really is to say, what do we do and how do we do that? And this is the space that we wish to occupy. And joining forces with the National Democratic Working Group will make us stronger. And this cooperation is not exclusive only to the two organizations. Other like-minded organizations can come on board. They are welcome to join forces and hands so that we come up with a huge force that can put and pull Zimbabweans together. And in all this, let the people of Zimbabwe decide exactly what they want and how they want it. And we know there will be consequences. But of course, we're always prepared to make sure that should there be suffering at the end of the day, let it be for the freedom of the people of Zimbabwe. Thank you very much. That would be my brief remarks this morning. Then I'll ask Advocate Sikhala to come through.
Thank you, President. Over to you, Advocate Sikhala.
Thank you very much, members of our
press in Zimbabwe, we have come to witness the unveiling of this cooperation agreement between the National Democratic Working Group and Transform Zimbabwe. What is informed us in terms of coming up with this agreement is that our nation is in a crisis. Zimbabwe is in a huge crisis, which we have noticed after the consultation with the masses of our people, that there is need of all democratic forces in our nation to coalesce together and deal with the challenges that we are facing as a nation. There is no doubt in many of us that the crisis that we are facing in our nation at the present moment needs urgent attention. The urgent attention that we should put our heads together as the people of our country to see how best we can solve the problems. We cannot abdicate our role and duties as citizens of our country to deal with the challenges that we are meeting. As alluded by my brother Jacob Ngarivhume, is that we are coming together as democratic forces in our country. This agreement is not between Jacob Ngarivhume and Job Sikhala. It is the agreement of the people of Zimbabwe over their desires to see all democratic forces coalescing together to deal with the challenges that we are facing as a nation. Like what has been correctly pointed out by my brother, this agreement will not only coalesce around the Transform Zimbabwe and the National Democratic Working Group. We are prepared to work with all democratic forces who want to deal with the challenges that we are facing as a nation. Our nation no longer needs selfishness from those people in leadership for us to view our personal interests over national interests. We need to come together as Zimbabweans for us to be able to tackle the challenges that we are facing as a nation. We are facing a crisis of governance. We are facing the crisis of democratic deficit in our country, where all the democratic space that has been existing has been closed down by the current tyranny. Such kind of challenges cannot only be tackled by individuals or a group of persons, but it needs all of us as Zimbabweans to put our heads together to see how we are going to entangle ourselves from the grip of the tyranny. We are under the vice grip, where we are being suffocated in our country to speak out on issues that are affecting our nation. Primarily, the issue of governance. Our nation has a governance crisis. There is no doubt about that. We have seen decisions by the current executive being made only for the individuals that are around the throne of our nation. The majority of our people are suffering. The economic deterioration is continuously persisting in our country at an alarming rate. We cannot look at this situation as the people of Zimbabwe and simply not try to come to party and deal with these challenges. As has been alluded, looting and corruption in our country has become part and parcel of a culture that is being perpetuated by the current regime. cannot continue on our watch. So as we have discovered and noted, coming together brings more effort for us to put our heads together. The corruption level that is currently being witnessed in our country has never been witnessed anywhere in the world. Few people are milking our country. They are looting. They are exporting our natural resources for their own personal benefit. Money is being laundered to offshore accounts. Deals have been done to the detriment of the majority of our people. And as political players in our country, these things cannot persist on our own watch. The importance with this agreement is that we see things in the same angle. We see things the same. So what we did is that we embarked on a serious consultative process with our masses of our nation. We have dealt with the issue to see what our masses want in our country. Our masses are no longer interested on individual glory, but they want collective effort to deal with the challenges. So this is the beginning of a very long journey of many other progressive forces who want to come on board and build a national coalition of progressive forces to deal with the challenges that we are facing in the nation. Correctly alluded to by Brother Jacob Ngarivhume, the doors are open for all democratic forces to come together, for us to speak with one voice, so that we will not be able to deal with the issues that are affecting us. So as a nation, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome this major development. It was after consultation with the majority of the people of Zimbabwe. This agreement is for the people of Zimbabwe. It's not between Jacob Ngarivhume and Jobstar. It is for the benefit of our own people. So, ladies and gentlemen, and the masses of our nation, we seek your support. We humbly come before you to seek your full support in meeting the challenges that the country is currently facing. There are so many people who want to understand on what we mean about the coalition of democratic forces and progressive forces. What are the progressive forces? The progressive forces are the following. One, an organization or persons who have not been involved one way or the other with abating the agenda of the current ZANU-PF regime. Someone who has never at one time or a moment been dealing covertly or overtly with ZANU-PF to the detriment of our masses. If you are realizing that at one particular time we have been not being with the ZANU-PF to the detriment of the masses of our nation, you are not a progressive force. We are not interested to work with you. We are prepared to work with those people who have identified our primary enemy. And our primary enemy in Zimbabwe is ZANU-PF, as it has been subjugating our people, under tyrannical rule for 44 years. Number two, the progressive forces are those who believe in democracy, rule of law, and constitutionalism. Those who believe in collective decision making by the masses of our people. Number three, these are people who believe that the interests of our people must be at the center. The issues that affect our masses in Zimbabwe must be at the center of every individual self-interest. And number four, progressive forces are those who believe that Zimbabwe one day must be free. Those who believe that through the power of the people, our people will be free one day. So the parameters are very clear that those people who have never been or have not been dining with our primary enemy in Zimbabwe are progressive forces. But if you have been dealing with ZANU-PF for the purpose of destroying the advancement of the cause of our people, you are not part and parcel of the future of this nation. The nation needs people who want to extricate and liberate themselves from the yoke of ZANU-PF dictatorship that has been with us for the past 44 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is where the centrality of the cooperation between us and the Transform Zimbabwe is founded. And also in the National Democratic Working Group, he always emphasized, we have got progressive political organizations that are currently represented by the current acting chairman of the National Democratic Working Group in Zimbabwe, Dr. Ngarivhume, who is the president of the Democratic Party. He represents those democratic political forces, people who have never been given privilege and who have not been given financial inducement by ZANU-PF to destroy the democratic revolution of the people.
Okay.
So these are the parameters that we put in place.
Okay. Well, you can tell.
Conference for us to dialogue and also of our decision will not originate from our own heads, but we are going to engage our masses in everything that we are going to do. We are not going to do them unilaterally. We have put in place the political infrastructure that will be able to engage the citizens of our nation as we are going to move forward. I thank you.
Thank you, advocates, for that presentation. Okay, we now open this to the floor for questions. We will take 3 questions at a time. I think it will be best if you ask your question, and if it is a question that can be collectively answered, then so be it. If it's directed to either President Ngarivhume or Advocate Sikhala, so you should specify. Okay, I'll start with you. Your name, please, and the question.
Okay, my name is Ngarivhume from the Voice of America. I want to ask Mr. Sikhala, where is he hiding? Where is he speaking from?
Okay, first question. Where is Mr. Sikhala hiding?
Hiding.
Yes, can I take the question, please?
My name is Chingitai from Spain International News Agency. My question goes to Ngarivhume or Sikhala. Anyone will take the question. I am going to be very, very specific. If you approach me on Chamisa, just not to speak to you, because without Chamisa, you're not going to move to, but you have to interact with us very well, because Chamisa is what the crowd that's going to be behind it.
Sorry.
Kuposta freelance. Ndichapfunza une chishona vasikala handida kuti you are hiding. Haida kunzwa kuti iye zvinezvi muri kupi uye pamakabuda muZimbabwe mainzi muri kuenda kunotsvaga kurapwa. Muri kunzwa sei iko zvino uye tinokutarisira irini munyika?
Okay, those are 3 questions. Advocate Sikhala, have you picked up the questions?
No, I've only read the last one. The other 3 first ones I did not get them, my brother.
Okay, the first question is similar to the last question, but the question in the first instance was from Voice of America, where is Mr. Sikhala hiding? Can you hear me?
Yes, still the other one.
Okay.
Still the other one.
The second question will be answered by both gentlemen. The question was, have you asked Advocate Nelson Chamisa about this? Because the impression, according to the question, is without him, this coalition, this understanding, this cooperation will be not going anywhere. The last question was Murikupi Makunzwa say, since you said that you were going to seek treatment abroad. So those are the questions that we are dealing with right now.
We know what is in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, and also, when are you likely to come back? Thank you. Over to you.
So I think I can start addressing the second question.
Thank you.
And then allow my brother Job to address the
first one. Muripi na iwa Sikhala we mukutwa say we are in. I am on medical treatment. Rikurapwa kunze kwenyika handisi muZimbabwe iko zvino. Kwandiri kurapwa zvokutaura kwandakaita handingakwanisi kuti nditaure kuti ndiri kupi, sezvo vavengi vangu vachida kuti vazive kuti ndiripi uye kuti vagoona kuti nyaya dzoutano dzakamira sei.
Okay. If you can take the second question.
I will take the second question to say, have you approached the NC? Nelson Chamisa, I'm used to calling NC, okay. So, like we have said, I think we want that to be very clear, to say this cooperation agreement is open to all Zimbabweans. And I think my brother Job was talking in depth about how ZANU-PF as an institution is not welcome. I think I would want to emphasize that point to say, you know, what we are not prepared to do is to perpetuate the suffering of the people of Zimbabwe. But if you are out there and you have been a member of ZANU-PF before, and you are a Zimbabwean, and you feel you want to be part of this cooperation, of the coming together of the forces to fight for the good of the people of Zimbabwe, you are welcome. All Zimbabweans are welcome. The reason why specifically we have targeted ZANU-PF as an institution is because they've presided over the plunder of our national resources. And we want to make sure that we rescue this country from the grip of their jaws. So Advocate Nelson Chamisa, like any Zimbabwean, is welcome. Is welcome to be part of this organization. I've personally been speaking to him recently after we met at some event, and we're actually planning a meeting to discuss and see how, to just understand each other. What he's doing and what we are doing. This is at a level of Transform Zimbabwe, of course, and himself. So we speak to everybody. And the idea really is to make sure that we bring everybody together. So we are welcome to it. But we are also very much aware that we don't want to build curls around a common good and a common cause. We don't want this to say, okay, the Zimbabweans can't free themselves unless they have Jacob Ngarivhume or they have Job Sikhala, or unless if Emerson Mnangagwa is there. Let's move away from the idea of personalities and cults in our country. We want the people of Zimbabwe to take charge of themselves, to be able to free themselves. To us, this is more about the people of Zimbabwe coalescing and coming together to fight for their good, not about individuals. So I want really to emphasize on that, to say let's move away from the idea that Zimbabwe can't be freed unless Jacob Ngarivhume comes up, or unless Nelson Chamisa comes up, or unless you have on this team, unless you have some individual, then you'll be successful. Let's move away from that. We want to, but this is open to all Zimbabweans. We are stronger together. But of course, compromised forces, we are not prepared to work with them because they will abort and they will suffocate and choke the struggle. That's what I can say on that second question.
Okay, I think we can proceed to the next round of questions. Yes, if you can identify yourself and present your question.
Thank you, Gibson from the Herald. So, I wanted to find out the common issues which you are sharing with Sikhala. They've been raised by other leaders whose basis of engagement has been: one, rational disputation by Monzora; two, Professor Maduku, winners must work with losers; and recently Washman Ngarivhume saying that we are now going to engage ZANU-PF to deal with issues of corruption, etc. So I wanted to find out, is dialogue part and parcel of your strategies to engage with ZANU-PF in trying to address these issues? And seems you are referring to ZANU-PF as the enemy number one. So I wanted to find out, how best are you going to deal with this primary enemy number one, considering that, according to the narrative, they've collapsed opposition politics, they are putting innocent people to jail, like in your case, 4 years, that was the sentence. Then Mr. Sikhala, 595 days without any notable criminal offense. So how are you going to deal with that primary enemy who also deal with you, that man? Thank you.
Okay, did you pick up that question, Advocate Sikhala?
I was put offline a bit. I only got the last question, which says, is dialogue part and parcel of your strategy to deal with our primary enemy? And also that people like Douglas Monzora are talking about rational disputation together with Professor Mohamed Duke and Professor Washman Ngarivhume, talking about
Okay, no, that's not the end of the world. Let's give President Ngarivhume.
Okay, thank you very much. I will basically address the question from the Herald to say, We have identified ZANU-PF as the primary enemy, and how are we going to work with them, or whether we have dialogue as an option. Okay, to answer that, the question really is, what can we achieve out of the whole process? Because what we are looking at is the freedom of the people of Zimbabwe. It's fundamental and clear and critical to say, how do we deliver freedom to the people of Zimbabwe? And the reason why we're referring to ZANU-PF as an institution that they are responsible for where we are today is common knowledge. They've been in power since 1980, and they've captured the judiciary. You have absolutely alluded to it very well. The fact that they've captured a judiciary, they send you to prison, and then you are acquitted after years struggling in poor conditioned prisons. It shows that as an institution, they've captured, the state apparatus and so on. And we all know as Zimbabweans how difficult it is for us to go out to campaign, for instance, because they've closed the democratic space. So they are clearly the arch enemy or the arch rival of the freedom of the people of Zimbabwe. We're not apologetic about that. Okay, but then the question is to say, how do we engage them? And the process of how we are engaging in this whole issue is, number one, the people of Zimbabwe have to decide how they want us to engage, how they want us to take the issues forward. Like Advocate Sikhala was saying earlier on, we are consulting the people. We are speaking to them. They've identified the issues, and they want us to deal with the issues at hand. And how they want us to do that, it is welcome. We are there to provide leadership to the people of Zimbabwe. But specifically on how we're going to do that, number one, it's a matter of strategy, yes, but it's also up to the people of Zimbabwe to say, if they desire that we engage in some form of dialogue in a way, they will speak to us and inform us of how we are going to move forward. But the point remains, we are dealing with a dictatorship. We are dealing with elites who are plundering the resources of this country. We have been merciful to those who have been ruthless, actually, to those who have stood up to speak out against what is happening in this country. To people like Job Sikhala, myself, and many others, who have paid a price of a ruthless regime that has refused to listen to the people of Zimbabwe. And we are not mistaken about that. But of course, we will be guided by the people, and also the process itself will be guiding us to say, how do we engage? We need a lot of reform, and we need a lot of change. We need an even electoral playing field to make sure that we're able to win an election in this country. But that comes at the backdrop of the people of Zimbabwe standing up and rising. The corruption. We all know there's been corruption that has been engineered and steered by the elites in this country, by the ruling elite in this country, by President Mnangagwa and the Presidium of ZANU-PF. They've presided over merciless corruption that has impoverished all of us. You see, but the question then is to say, what new things do we need to do? We want the people of Zimbabwe to define this struggle, and we are there to provide that leadership. And we'll do so without fear, and we'll do so with a lot of commitment to the cause from the people of Zimbabwe. That's what I would say in a nutshell. Democratic forces are welcome to come on board. Zimbabweans are welcome to. You see, this is issue-based. And if you resonate with the issues that we are raising, you are welcome. Let's come and work together. Other people have their own initiatives. That is okay. But we are saying let's all come together and look at these issues and see how we can move forward. And that is a steadfast commitment that we have in ourselves. And we are prepared to move forward by that.
Thank you. Advocate Sikhala, can I call you on that question?
Yeah, very clear. I think my brother Jacob Ngarivhume has correctly put it. Never again will decision be made by individual leaders. The crux of our operation is that the people will be at the center. There is no action or individual decisions that will be taken by any leader. Everything that we are going to do will come from the masses of our people. everything, we are now the couriers of what the people of Zimbabwe want to happen in their country. Every decision that is going to be taken will be taken after thorough consultation with the masses of our people. What the masses of our people will tell us to do is exactly what we are going to do. With precision, we will not cut corners, but deal with carrying the message with the people of Zimbabwe say. But however, what the thoughts of the masses of our people is that when you are dealing with ZANU-PF, you must understand that you are dealing with the most treacherous and deceitful political outfit you would ever meet in the world. Their deception has been seen for many years in our country on how they have drowned many political organizations and political leaders in our country through their deception. The moment when they invite you for dinner, you must be quickly know that you are being invited to the poisoned church. ZANU-PF has never been dealing with the people and citizens of our country in good faith. They always do things to advance their own tyrannical selfish interest. Even if there are men who tried it. ZAPU tried it and then they were absorbed. During the period of the GNU, they tried it, but they deceived our colleagues who manipulated the entire process for their own benefit and for their own good. So dealing with ZANU-PF is dealing with the most treacherous and deceptive political animal you could come across. So the issue of dialoguing with ZANU-PF is not on our table to some of us. We are not interested to be contaminated by the people of ZANU-PF. We are a complete antithesis of what ZANU-PF represents in our country. ZANU-PF represents evil. ZANU-PF represents greed. ZANU-PF represents deception. ZANU-PF represents anti-people sentiments. ZANU-PF represents a genocide. ZANU-PF represents all evil associated with everything that has been happening in our country. So when you are engaging, I wish those people who we have mentioned that they have said that they want to engage with ZANU-PF, I wish them the best. I wish them best luck. ZANU-PF is a deceptive and treacherous outfit, which you must treat with caution at every time when you are dealing with them. This is my answer to the question.
Okay, can I take your question? You were first. Is it a question to do with that? Is it an independent question?
I was not answered, I was interrupted.
Your first question?
Yeah, I was interrupted.
Was it a question relating to when he's coming back?
Yes, what the person was saying, it was interrupted, the response was interrupted.
Oh, okay. I think that question is simply answered in stating that he's going to come back when he is fit, since he's gone out for...
The response was interrupted. May I have it for him?
You want to have it from...
Yes.
Advocate Sikhala, I will take you back a little bit. If you can quickly answer this question. There is a question relating to how you are feeling if and when you are going to be back in Zimbabwe. If you can be very brief on that, so that we can move on.
All right. Like what I said, I'm very fit, as you are seeing here.
Can I interrupt you? Answer in Shona.
And my doctor said, All right. No, ndiri kunzwa zvakanaka zvikuru. So kuona kwamuri kuita pano pa press conference yatinayo, vana chiremba vangu vakupedza zvavanga vachiita kwandiri kutarisa nyaya dzeutano nedzekuzorora kworuzvi nezvimwe. Kumusha ndiri kudzoka mumazuva mashomanana ari kutevera. Kumusha ndiri kuuya. Ndichakuzivisai mose zuva randichauya. Nepasi rose ndichazivisa musi wandinodzoka kuZimbabwe. Saka ndiri kudzoka sokutaura kwandaita pamazuva mashomanana ari kutevera. Handingadi kutaura dheti racho nhasi, asi dheti racho rakusvika ndiri kuuya kumusha. Mazvita.
Okay, so that's answered. Can I take your question, please?
Freelance. There have been quite a number of coalitions here in Zimbabwe which later
Can you try to speak up, please?
There have been quite a number of coalitions here in Zimbabwe which later collapsed due to power struggles and alleged ZANU-PF infiltration. So what gives you confidence that yours is not going to face similar situations or challenges?
Okay, so let's take one question, get answered, and then we move on to the next question. You will be next to ask your question. Then you'll be next. Please, if you can.
Cool. Coalitions have collapsed due to ZANU-PF infiltration and so on. I mean, that's what you say. Ours is an effort coming informed by the wishes and desires of the people of Zimbabwe. They've asked us to cooperate and work together, and we are just doing that. I think, this is not a cooperation of convenience. This is not a cooperation of plunder intention. People have gotten into cooperations and coalitions for different reasons, some with intentions of accessing resources and so on. But this is based on the need for the people of Zimbabwe to come together, to act and get themselves out of a situation. What we are trying to do here is not child's play, this is not an opportunity for anybody to get names or to get money or to access anything. This is an effort to come together and make sure that we make things right in the country. And there's huge consequences that could come with it. As already we've discussed at this press conference, we know the regime that we are dealing with, it may end us imprisoned again for no reason and so on. So this call is completely different from what has happened in the past. This is a cooperation of two separate organizations to say, okay, fine, you are the National Democratic Working Group, you are Transform Zimbabwe. We've identified common issues. Let us come together. So this is issue-driven, issue-based, and we feel and are hopeful that because we have found each other and because we are glued together by the issues and the need for us to fight for those issues, then we should be able to see through to the freedom and achievement of and attainment of our goals that have been set before us. So the people of Zimbabwe, again, will do everything that is possible to make sure that we stay together, and we are prepared. This is a huge commitment. It has come after consultation and interactions with people to say, why can't your organizations come together and fight for us on A, B, C, D issues? And we are just prepared to do that. And it is our faith and belief that we'll see it all through until the end. Thank you.
Advocate Sikhala, can you come in on that question?
The issue that how are we going? What measures are we going to put in place to deal with issues of infiltration? Infiltration has been a concept that has been applicable since time immemorial. Down the centuries, unpopular regimes have been using the tactic of infiltrating their opponents to destroy them. Without doubt, we understand the character of our primary enemy, that it deals with infiltrating and trying to destroy opposition political organizations. Even during the period of our own liberation struggle, infiltration was also used as a tool and instrument to destroy political organizations. Nowhere have the people in a struggle not faced the challenges of infiltration. We will not be an exception. They will try to infiltrate us. The way how we are going to respond and deal with infiltration is the one that will distinguish us, whether we have a plan already. We have got a plan to deal with infiltration. And that plan is comprehensive and exhaustive. So anybody who believes that he will infiltrate us must be warned. The game is over for infiltrators. We will not be very kind to infiltrators. We will decisively deal with them in a manner all other sellouts and those who want to destroy the wishes of the people have been dealt with. We will have a decisive response to any intended to infiltrate. We are not going to have mercy.
Okay, can I proceed by taking your question, please?
Yeah,
Okay, I know that's an issue of
please don't worry.
it's a signal performance. There's nothing we can do about it. It's not an act of any
tinogona kuti muchiri mutsva achangobva ukandwa muchirongo nzira yamada kufamba iyi mataura katatu muchiti vana vezimbabwe vanoda kusunungurwa vebato rinotonga vanozviramba kuti zimbabwe haina kusununguka. Vanhu vakatosununguka zvakanyanya uye vanogona kusazvibata zvakanaka matauriro amuri kuita hamusi kutyika here kudzokera muchirongo munipindura nechishoni uye panotaridza kuti hamusi kuwirirana. Ava vari kuti isusu hatimbofi kuda takataura neZANU-PF muri kudzoka moti aiwa kana vanhu vakati ngatitauriranei tinoda it's an option nokuti ma options ese aripo patepo hapasi patotanga nyonga here ipapo ipinduraiwo nechishoni.
Chekutanga ndinofunga hapaite kusanzwisisana, hapana patati zvachose tinotaurirana neZANU-PF. Ngazvive clear izvozvo kuti hapana patati.
Am I audible?
yes, you are, but we have proceeded.
Am I audible?
Can you hear me?
I'm now hearing you. It was silent. Was my answer to the question captured?
Yes, it was, and we have proceeded. So the question that has just been asked was asked in Shona. Would you be kind enough to represent your question?
Yeah, vachapindurawo ndachiti Vasikhala hamusi kutya here kuti ma-statements amuri kutaura aya anogona kukudzoserai kwamakabva musuno nenyaya yekuti yamuri kuti regime iyi yamuri kudhila nayo mati munoziva zvainoita uye mukataura mukati havazenguriri kuita zvose kuti varambe vakadzipakata. Saka hamusi kutya here kuti muchakandwa kuseri zvekare.
Alright, saka
chandataura apa ndechipi? Chandataura ndangotaura nyaya yekuti ma-infiltrators anenge asiri ZANU kwaanenge ari tisinodhilana nawo. Saka vangatsamwa kuti tadhilana nama-infiltrator kwedu. Vane basa nazvo.
okay.
Okay,
zvingasungisa zvokuti tinotilana nawo zvosungisa zvosungisa kuti dati ndichati kuti tinotilana nawo.
Okay, yeah, it's fine.
Okay, Advocate Sikhala, I will now allow President Ngarivhume to take over from that response. Thank you.
All right. Saka ndakanichiti chekutanga mwana wamai hapana patati isusu tichataurana neZANU-PF ende uye atikumbiriri ruregerero pakutaura kuti ZANU-PF ndo iri pakati pekutamburira kana kushungurudzwa kwevana veZimbabwe. ZANU-PF ndo vari kutonga kubva 1980, hapana rimwe bato ratonga ende ndo vari kudzvanyirira vanhu. Zvavo zvokuti vana veZimbabwe vakatosununguka vakagarika, vakasununguka ndivo vashoma vari kutonga nekutungamira. Kana kunyange vatsigiri vavo vanotsigire ZANU-PF chaivo chaivo vanotoida nemwoyo wavo vanotambura zvakanyanya vanhu vanosina kana chavanacho. Saka nyika inofanira kusununguka kwechokwadi pokuti vana veZimbabwe vawane upfumi hwatakapiwa naMwari vakwanise kuhuwana. Saka isusu chandanga ndataura ndechekuti aiwa isusu tiri kuti vana veZimbabwe ndo vachadefina kuti tichafamba so tobva apa tichaenda uko nekoko nekoko. Asi ndinowirirana navasikala, handitarisire handifungi kuti vana veZimbabwe vangati nzira yavangada kuti tirwe nayo pakurwisa uko imwe yacho inge iri yekutaurirana neZANU-PF. Handifungi kudaro. Ini maonero angu ndekuti vana veZimbabwe vari pachena pane zvavanoda kuti tidile nazvo neZANU-PF. So that's the first thing. Then chechipiri, hamutyere kudzoka kwamaive kwataive uku hakuna kunaka zvachose ende hakuna munhu anokurarama mutorongo. Nguva yandakararama mutorongo, imagine kuti ndakagaramo almost a year ndisina kana access, usina kana chimbuzi, hamuna kana toilet, hamuna chekudya, unonga wakavharirwa mahour 18 pazuva. You know, it's pathetic. And even kungoona bedzi chimwe chinhu chandakabva nacho chakandishungurudza kuona kutambura kuri kuita vana veZimbabwe vari kumatorongo. That is excruciating torture. To witness that and see that every day like we did. But mubvunzo wedu kana nyaya yedu iri pakuti zvino kana vana veZimbabwe vachida kusunungurwa totya here togare kudzimba dzedu makungo zvaakatya akafa mangani. Hatifanirwi zvachose kutya. Point yedu iri pakuti aiwa pane munhu anofanira kusimuka, pane vanhu vanofanira kusimuka kuti vadhile nemaissues aripo at hand. And hapana chatiri kuita chinosungisa. Sekutaura kwandaita, I've said we will be guided by section 59 through to 61 of the Zimbabwean constitution. Saka hapana chinhu chiri kunze kwemutemo chatiri kuita. But vanhu vatiri kudhila navo vanhu vane utsinye vasingadi kuone vana veZimbabwe vachiza express themselves. Even unyari kumba kwako sezvandakaita kudai, they can still come here and pick me up and concoct a completely fictitious charge against me. We are very much aware of that. But that hazvina kutisa pakutya izvozvo. Saka point yangu yandoda kusimisa ndeyekuti hatitye 1 2 hatina chatiri kuita chinotyore murawo weZimbabwe. Tiri vanhu vanoteedzere murawo zvakanyanya. Saka as long as tichiteedzere murawo, then what they do to us is none of our business because they are ruthless and they can do anything. But isusu hativhunduswe ende uye takashinga ende ticharamba takagaidwa nemutemo wenyika yeZimbabwe unotitendera kuti tiite fight for our rights. Thank you.
Okay, I'll take your question, please.
In your earlier submissions, you mentioned that the mandate to address corruption and economic issues, crackdown on democratic space, comes from the mandate from the people, that you are going to engage the people. I think you and Sikhala both agree that it comes from the people. Now, should you engage the people and the people decide that we want protests, we want to go to the streets, are you going to, allowing our current regime does not have an appetite to entertain protests? Are you going to lead from the front, no matter the consequences, those protests? If the people say, no, we want protests for us to address these issues. That is my question.
All right, cool. So I'll answer this and ask my brother Sikhala to also come into that. If the people say we want protests, you know, like I've said over and over, Section 59 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe allows for protests. There are guidelines within the constitutional framework that allows for protests. That is not illegal for the people of Zimbabwe to protest. The fact that the regime does not entertain protests shows that there's something wrong with it. It's a crooked regime. Because protests are provided for in the constitution. And if the people of Zimbabwe say, okay, we want to protest, we are very much prepared to lead from the front. I mean, we don't want to send the people of Zimbabwe to places that we can't be. We don't want to ask them to go into the streets whilst we are basking in the comfort of our homes. And in any case, there's nothing comfortable in our homes anymore, because everything comfortable has been destroyed and plundered by corruption. So we will be guided by what the people of Zimbabwe want. And of course, we are not made of cheap steel. We are not violent. We are not advocating for violence. We are calling for peaceful engagement in terms of what the people of Zimbabwe wants. If it is there in the constitution, then it's fine, we'll do it. But of course, should they arrest us again, should they harm us in any way, we are equally prepared internally to deal with whatever comes. But of course, we will respond to the call of the people of Zimbabwe as guided for in the constitution of Zimbabwe. They will not ask us to do something or anything that is outside the constitution.
Advocate Sikhala, thank you. Advocate Sikhala, did you capture the question, and what is your response to that?
I got the question that if the masses of our people ask us that they want to protest, like what I earlier said, all our decisions are going to be people-driven. We are going just to be the couriers and messengers of the will of the people. If the masses clamor for protest, we will only just be the conveyors of the messages that comes from the people. That the masses have asked us to protest. We are here at your service. We are going to be part and parcel of what you have asked us to do. And like what my brother Ngarivhume said, we will carry it out. We will be on the forefront, as we will not be those leaders who would need the masses to do everything for them while it's seated at home. We will be with the masses in their call and also partake in what they've asked us to do. So we are now going to be the couriers of what the people will say, and that is exactly what we will do within the confines of democratic and constitutional parameters. So there is nothing that will definitely stop us, as long as things that we are asked to do are within the constitutional, lawful, and the democratic four corners of our constitution. There is nothing that will stop us to carry the message with the people who have told us. If they will tell us that, guys, we need you to lead us into protests, we will do that, because that is what the wishes of the people are. We will not be carrying our own egocentric needs, but we will be carrying the message of the masses, and the masses will be with us. So we will carry out whatever the masses, the voice of the masses would say.
Thank you, Advocate Sikhala. Okay, we will take the last round of questions. Those will be 3 last questions, and then I know you have jobs to do, then we'll call it a day. So if there are any questions, please. Okay. Right. May I take this opportunity to thank you all for having attended this historic event in the coalescing of the democratic forces as we march forward in an endeavor to free the people of Zimbabwe from tyranny, from rule that is not based on justice. You will understand that it didn't start with the It didn't start with the crop of leaders that are now in government fighting against what they considered to be injustice. Before them, you will know of the first Chimurenga, which involved Mbuyaneanda, Kagui, and the likes. So this struggle will go on until Zimbabwe is finally free. And unless and until Zimbabwe is free, we will not stop. We may become victims of a system that is temporarily trying to stop a revolution that is on course and that is unstoppable. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, members of the Fourth Estate, for coming in today and being with us and taking and covering this event. Thank you very much, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here today.